Okay. Hello. Um, so I think we're live. And welcome. My name is Martha Alter Hines with Living the One Light. And I'm here today to do this YouTube live um, to answer your questions, to tell you a little bit about my own channeling journey, and also answer your questions about channeling. So if you're new to me or you're new to this community, what I did recently in my free community is I asked you, my guides asked me to ask you your questions about my channeling journey, but also just about channeling in general. And so I'm going to be answering the questions that you guys submitted in the free community. And then please, 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 those of you here live on YouTube, please add in your questions in the live chat, which I have here also. Um, and yeah, and part of the reason I'm doing this is just simply to answer these questions. The other reason is because I am starting next Wednesday, October 1st, 2025. I'm going to be holding a 5-week How to Channel course, which a lot of you already have signed up for. And I was originally thinking I would share about my channeling journey in the course, but then I realized, no, I'd like to just share it in general. You don't have to be part of the course to hear about that. Um, so yeah, so here I am to share about that. And right, so toward the end, if any of you also do have questions about the actual course, I'm happy to answer those questions. There is a sliding scale option, so it's, I think, pretty reasonably priced, starting at $85 for 5 weeks. And you can find that at my website, livingtheonelight.com, but I'll put the link here. I'll send out the link. If you're not part of my free community, highly, highly, highly recommend joining that. You can also you can download the new free app, Living the One Light app on Apple devices and Android devices. And you can access the free community through that or on my website, livingtheonelight.com. And that free community is meant to be a positive place of support for our collective soul awakening journey. And just, yeah, only positivity, kindness. That's maybe the best way to put it. Um, and it's just beautiful, beautiful community with people sharing really wonderful things. So please join that if you haven't yet. Um, okay, so I think I will start just by, yeah, sharing a little bit about my own journey, and then I'll go into your questions. So, yeah, so I first started channeling in 2018, and the gist of the way that that happened, I was not expecting it, not looking for it, never took a course, never imagined I would ever channel. It was not not on my radar at all. Um, I was working actually for child welfare service. I was a social worker. I was a social work supervisor um, in the Child Protective Services agency here where I live. And so I was in a very, very, very intense job, nothing to do with spirituality. I had, by that point, I think I was about 41-ish. And since I was teenager, I was very into spirituality. I had a very active but very private spiritual life, very powerful one. But I talked about it with maybe 3 or 4 people. Like I could count on one hand how many people I was open with about my spiritual side. So often at that point in my life, I would say, I had my social work side and I had my spiritual side. And my spiritual side, again, I was open with maybe 3 or 4 people on the planet. And then I had this very intense situation going on at my job. Very upset about it. And I essentially, I went home and I was gonna pray about it, and I closed my eyes, and immediately barely had even closed my eyes, and there was a circle of 8 spirits above my head. I had never encountered. I'd had all kinds of really powerful spiritual experiences up until then, but nothing like this. And those 8 spirits said to me, this is great. This so the situation I was upset about, they said, no, this is great. This is exactly what we wanted. This is exactly right. And we we need you to start channeling for for us. And what you channel will become the platform for what we need you to do next. So essentially, long story short, I was being asked to switch roles at the agency, and I was being asked to go back to being an adoption social worker, which is what I had been previously. Um, and 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 what the guides also said was that they said, yes, take that adoption social work role again. That's going to be great because it's going to mean that you're going to need to go 1 hour north of San Francisco once a month. So, long story short, I accepted that adoptions position. And lo and behold, we had a new client come in who needed to be visited once a month, an hour north of San Francisco. So, this was the circle of 8 beings came to me on a Thursday. I started back to that adoptions position on Monday, like 4 days later, whatever. And on Tuesday, the second day on that job, I got assigned this client an hour north of San Francisco, which is pretty far from where I live. I live down in more Southern California. So, it's very uncanny, very unusual that I would need to go an hour north of San Francisco, which was precisely what they had said. And yes, indeed, when I would start, so a month later, I started visiting this kid who I needed to visit once a month. And I don't think it was my first visit to see them. Maybe it was my second or my third. So this was in April of 2018 when this happened. And I think it was by June or July when I went to go visit this kid. I, yeah, I basically I was up there and I was driving and the situation had happened and um with the child it was very traumatic and I needed comfort. So they told me to go to the local health food store, which is a very comforting thing for me. And so I did. And when I arrived, I'd never been to this health food store. I loved it. And as I was driving there, what started to happen, I started to feel these tentacles go into my back. And I was like, what is going on? And I was like, oh, the channeling is gonna happen. And so certainly I had never had tentacles go into my back. And so I was driving though, so the tentacles basically entered my back, and it was like something clicked in, and it's like the structure of channeling or something suddenly landed in my body, and then yeah, and I was getting closer and closer to the health food store, and what they had shown me in the vision in April, when they said when that circle of 8 beings came to me and they said, we need you to start channeling, and what you channel is going to become the platform for what we need you to do next. They showed me this flash of a vision of me sitting outside what felt like either a health food store or a health food restaurant. It was tables outside, and they showed me typing on like an iPad or a laptop outside at these tables, like picnic tables outside of this health food establishment. So again, I'd never been to this health food store before. If you guys, any of you live in Marin County or you've been there, I can't remember the name, is Good Earth, maybe, whatever it is, the amazing health food store up there. That was where I was heading, and they have, guess what? I drove up, parked. Turns out they have an outside seating area with picnic tables, and I could feel like this flow, almost like water, trying to come down through my body, and I was like, oh my God, hang on. They wanted me to start channeling, and I was like, I'm still driving, so I parked, and I really need to use the bathroom. I ran in to use the bathroom, and it was like trying to come through again, kind of like a little cross between light and water, trying to pour through my body, like very intense. And I said, hang on, I just need to use the bathroom, right? So then I used the bathroom. I ran to the car and I grabbed my iPad, which had a keyboard. And I went and I sat at one of the tables outside of this health food store. And there I was, the exact vision they had shown me in April. And that was the first time I ever channeled. And yeah, again, no classes, nobody ever taught. I hadn't even talked to anybody who was a channeler or anything. It just happened. It just was meant to happen and it happened. Um, and yeah, and so over the course of that summer, every time I would go up there, it was like priming the pump of my body to be a literal channel. And so every time I would go up there, they would have me still go to that health food store and channel. There was something very special about that spot. I don't get it. It's like there's a, or again, if you're familiar with Marin, maybe you know. There's something very special, I think, about Mount Tam, which I also visited on one of my trips, and it's very activating for me. Something about I have a blue rock from there, very something. Yeah, so it was very specific that I had to be there in order to get activated. It's very, very interesting. Because it's not that, because where I live, it's incredibly magical and powerful, and I have a very, very powerful relationship with the land here. But there was something very specific about that spot and that health food store. Very weird. I don't know. Let me know if you have thoughts about that. But yeah, it was very, very, very planned, clearly. So and yeah, so anyway, so the next few months as I went to that store, it was like they were just getting me to prime the pump and like practice. And so what I was channeling was more for myself. It was like they were giving me they were giving me instructions, and they were kind of trying to help me get the point, the real point they were trying to say to me. They kept saying to me, you need to back off, meaning they kept saying, you're going to need to be hands off in terms of helping the world. And so, because social work is very hands on in a way, it's very directly serving, which is great and amazing. And I loved, social work and all kinds of love. I loved my clients so much. But they said kept giving me these visions of what my role was going to need to be. It was, big, 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 holding big space, like basically holding the energetics of the whole world and beyond the world, the whole time space continuum, actually. It's what it ended up really being. And so over the summer, they were just trying to convey that message to me over and over and over again. It was really about me and getting me used to, I think they were helping me calibrate to the energetics of what I was needed to do. And then in September of 2018, so about 5 months after this first started happening, they said to me, okay, we need you to take off a week and we need you to channel a book. And it's going to be the first book in a series of 8 books. And I went, what? I can't take off a week. And I started getting a migraine, and they said, take off a week. So I did. And the migraine went away. And that week, actually, like in 2 or 3 days, I channeled this, Living the One Light. And yeah, and then and they told me, you're going to need to leave social work, this for sure. Yeah, and I was like, how's that going to happen? Because as a single mom, 2 kids, that's scary. But a year later, I did in fact leave my job, and I channeled that. Then that summer, actually that September, October, I channeled Gaia Speaks and then Cosmos Speaks, which were the second and the third in the Living the One Light series. Yeah, so that's the gist of how channeling happened for me. Yeah, I think that's the main points. So yeah, and if you want to hear more about my story in general, please go to my website. I will put the link here later when I'm done, and I can put the links and things. But if you go to my website, livingtheonelight.com, and you go to the About page, if you scroll down, there's a video, an interview of me by Chris Skidmore, which I highly recommend. It's, I think, the most comprehensive interview of my story. So I go into a lot more detail. But yeah, the gist would be that at that point, I mean, I already definitely had very powerful spiritual experiences happening. But that summer, 2018, was probably the biggest spiritual awakening time of my entire life so far, by far. That's when I started getting taken out of the time-space continuum. I started getting shown the nature of existence from the void. Like all kinds of things started happening. Um, for those of you who are familiar with astrology, at that point, Neptune was sitting right on my sun, and Pluto was starting to square my Venus, which is a different story, but and my nodes actually. Yeah. But the big thing, Neptune was right on my Pisces sun. Really active. It was like big boom. I became like this literal channel of divine love over my heart. And I had all kinds of experiences going on in the next 2, 3 years while Neptune was sitting on my sun. Very, very, very powerful, sometimes very painful. Um, but that was the gist of how that all occurred for me. Um, okay. So now to your questions. Um, all right. Okay, so there's one here on the YouTube chat. Did it make you feel panicked or purposeful when the feeling of light and water came in? I would say more purposeful. That's a great question. Did I feel panicked? No, I think I felt because I had already had some really powerful spiritual experiences up until then. So I think I was excited. I mean, a little bit confused, like what in the world was going on, but and curious. I was really curious and excited and just really in the unknown, like what and wow, like how is and also I had been doing Reiki since I was 21, so it felt similar-ish to having Reiki energy flow through my body or through my hands in my late 20s. Well, okay, sorry, when I was 22, I went straight from college into grad school and I got trained to be a clinical social worker, but then after that I took off 5 years from social work and was a massage therapist for 5 years. And so during that period of my life, in my late 20s, I that's when a lot of my spiritual abilities woke up, and I had so I was pretty used to, because of the body work and specifically the energy work and the Reiki and the craniosacral therapy experience. I was pretty used to having very powerful energies move through my body. It just had never been tentacles. Like that was a little weird. Um, yeah, it was like a different energy structure was literally being placed into me, and um, I still don't understand what that was. Very interesting. Um, okay. Aw, thank you for that comment. You always feel calmer listening to me. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna go to your questions on the community now. So again, this is the free community, Living the One Light community. You can get this on my website, livingtheonelight.com, or get the free Living the One Light app, which is what I'm opening up here to see your questions. Um, okay. And I need to plug in my computer. I did not realize. So I'm going to, while I'm doing this, ask more questions. I'll be here. I'm just going to be right back as I plug this in. 1 second. All right, I'm back. Okay, so all right. So now I'm answering the questions in the Living the One Light free community. But again, please feel free to continue to ask on the YouTube chat. I'll come back to that in a second. Okay. So Jonavi, you're asking, did you want and intend on a conscious level to become a channel for the collective? How would I know if there is a new guide, a being or group consciousness that wants to connect with me and communicate through me? Um, yeah, so I think I partly already answered that. No, I definitely, absolutely, definitely did not intend for this. I did not ever expect it. I was very focused on being a single mom and my social work job. And I knew that I had these healing gifts again because I'd been a massage therapist for 5 years at the end of my 20s. And all of these abilities had woken up in my body at that time. Really uncanny things, which again is more in that other video that I mentioned on my about page. Definitely recommend. So I knew that there was this spiritual side of me that wasn't being tapped fully in my social work job. And I knew that at some point it was needed. Like I couldn't just be here in this lifetime and not use it. That didn't make sense to me. And I had this very strong sense that around age 45, my guides had, basically told me that around age 45 was when that would come more online. And that ended up being the case, which was really, really interesting. I'm 48 now. So I left social work in 2019 and I was 42 then. But then COVID hit, and my kids were home during that. And so I really was my mostly took off the COVID time to be with my kids. And then when they were fully back in school in March of 2022, so 3.5 years ago, that's when I really fully went into this. And that was right at my 45th birthday. Like literally, actually, the day of my 45th birthday was when it reignited, interestingly. Um, yeah, I never realized that. Yes. So no, I did not intend at all. And then your second question, how would I know if there is a new guide, a being or group consciousness that wants to connect with me and communicate? I would say I just put up 2 videos on how to channel on the YouTube channel here. And in the first one, it was I think John of you've definitely at least watched the first one. Maybe you've also watched the second one, but for any of the rest of you, the first one is a guided, channeled experience of being reignited as the crystalline being that we are, and basically being primed to channel in a sense. And then the second one is also channeled and leads you through how to actually feel the energy of a being trying to move through you and then channeling that being. So I would say go to that second video. Um, that would be my answer. Like that, basically what happens in that video would probably be the way I would answer that question. Like how do you know if there's one there or multiple there? Yeah, you feel just the way I feel it is I close my eyes and I just go into a very intentional space and then I can feel I can feel the light ready to move through me. Um, yeah, so that's my simplest answer. But if you happen to be hearing this and want clarification, put that in the YouTube live chat and I will come back to that and hopefully answer more. Okay. Yeah, and this is perfect follow-up to that. Okay, so Diana asked, I would be interested in how you have been building up trust or make sure that only loving voices come up and what makes you feel safe to open up to channeling and guides. Okay, yeah. So in other words, how do I know that it's only positive? Because that is such a really important question. I've been thinking about that question a lot since you asked that the other day. And I think my real answer is that I just have incredibly high standards. Like there's no option. There's no option in my psyche for any other option. So, uh, I've never had an experience actually where anything other than impeccably high vibrational energy has tried to channel through me. Um, so I would say, and that's something I think we'll focus on more in the channeling course, starting next week again, but it's really, I think, a matter of setting that intention. That's just boom. It's kind of, there's just no option other than light. It has to be light. Yeah, I'm not willing to channel anything else. I um yeah, I have to sit with that question a little more because again, I haven't actually had anything other than that attempt to. And light is way stronger than anything else. And light is what life ultimately is. So um yeah. Yeah, I have to sit with that question. If you guys have follow-up questions on that, let me know as well, because it's a really important question and it's a little tricky for me to answer just because I don't have that much personal experience with it. Um, okay. Okay, Marissa, you're asking, was there a specific breakthrough moment where you fully knew that what was coming through you was coming from a greater source, breaking through any doubt you may have had, or was your journey with channeling free from doubt or a gradual process of coming more fully into the worthiness and truth of your own channeling? Also, another really awesome, really important question. Um, yeah, so I think like the story I just told you, I think that I think that my guides or whatever was guiding all of that set it up in that way because it was so undeniable. Like the, I mean, it's still that experience is still the foundation of how I just know that there's no doubt that I am meant to be doing this work and that even um mm, that there's hope for the world. Early last about a year ago, or in November, I made a video. Again, you can find it on my YouTube channel. It says why I have hope, and I talked about this experience that I had in the one I just relayed in 2018. And it has really been a foundational experience for me because there's no way I could have made that up. No way I could have made that up. None. Zero. And I've studied a lot of, in school and college and graduate school, I studied a lot of scientific method and I'm very, analytical thinking and logical thinking and, distinguishing between causation and correlation is really important to me. So I get really uncomfortable, when people say, oh, such and such happened, which means that, da da da, because often things that seem like that correlate doesn't correlation is different from causation, right? So, but this experience I had, I mean, there's no explanation other than wow, it was just true. Um, there could not be any other, yeah, no other explanation other than what my guides were showing me literally happened, period, the end. And, in a series of things that happened, it wasn't just even a one-time thing, it was a multiple sequence of events. So that gave me pretty unshakable foundation that I was then moving from. But in a bigger sense, this is something also I think that we'll be working with a lot in the channeling course, and I think is a process, whether or not you're in the course with me, over time of really honing that it's like a whole skill set, right? It's a whole it's a really important thing to learn the difference between um to learn the feeling in your own body, and I think it's different for each of us. What is a real message from the spirit world? What's a message from my body? What's the message from my brain? What's a message from my imagination? Uh they're very, very different qualities. And I would say, even though I've had that experience and I've had other really uncanny experiences in my life that have taught me over time to trust myself, still, I definitely see her going, okay. Um, like every single day, I do praying, and in my praying, it's different from channeling, but it's similar. My guides show me things and tell me things, and they give me a view of like the upcoming months or even years sometimes. And they'll say, okay, in January and February, such and such is happening for you, and therefore you need to blah 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 blah. And so they've last year and this year actually, they're showing me things that are going to be happening in my work. And so, like for example, a year ago, they said, okay, by January of 2025, so last year, uh, your work is going to expand in this particular way, and so we need you to switch from the Teachable platform to Kajabi. This is a very practical example, but this is how they speak to me. And I was like, really? Okay, well, that's a whole heck of a lot of work, and Kajabi is more expensive. But they're like, no, just do it. So I did, and then yes, about a month later, something happened, and yes, things expanded in this exact way that they explained. Um, and now they're telling me again, they're showing me another kind of expansion, and they're having me rearrange my work in another way that also takes a lot of my time and money and things like that. And again, I have to trust. It's like I have to make the choice to trust. But every step of the way, in my case, for many years now, um, every single time they have shown me something like that, it has every single time come true. And yet, you know, the human me has to be a little careful because again, I'm a single mom still, and my kids and myself are relying on me, and so I can't just wholeheartedly say yes to absolutely anything. Like it would need to be within a certain range, right? Um, and every time, certainly still, every time it ends up coming true, I go, oh my God, how? How is that even possible? Um, yeah, and that's something, I think this relates to another question coming up, so I'm gonna move on. I think it's Tommy's question because there's another layer to this that feels really important, but I think it'll arise in this question. Yes. Okay, so Tommy says, so Tommy, you said you just listened to the second channeling about channeling. It was very soothing and affirming. And that what I write down is a mix of inner and outer me, a being participating in me and me participating in it. Here are my questions. Number one, Martha, you always distinguish between you, human Martha, speaking and what you channel from other sources. Is this important to keep clearly separated? Yes. Okay, and then there's a second question, but I'll come back. Yes, yes, yes. So I've been thinking about this question too. Another really important question. Um, it's definitely extremely important to keep that separated. Definitely, yes. So, um, yeah, I've been really pondering on that. Um, okay, so yes, I absolutely am very clear when I'm speaking versus when something else, a different being is speaking. And it's a very distinct feeling in my body. So sometimes I will, like in the beginning of gatherings, I usually drop in and I help us, come into sacred space. That's virtually always me speaking. And sometimes people think I'm channeling. I'm not. That's me. Um, the only time I'm channeling is usually when I say, okay, I'm going to channel. And then a different energy comes through my body, and then I'm speaking, they're speaking through me. Like it's very distinctly, the voice of whatever it is that's channeling through me. And there are many reasons, really, really important to me to make that distinction very clear, is because the human me, Martha, I'm in my mind, I'm in my heart, I'm in my body, I'm here. What's moving through me is coming from, it's the divine intelligence in some form. And not that I don't have divine intelligence, we all do, obviously, but I would say one thing some people do, and I haven't done very often, but is certainly possible, obviously, is to channel our own higher self. So then maybe I would say, okay, this is my higher self channeling. I don't tend to do that. Um, in the channeling course that Lee Harris did a year ago, my guides actually had me just sign up for it. And so I'm listening to it. And what's so fascinating is I expected it to be somewhat similar to the course I'm about to be teaching, and it's completely different. Totally. I mean, I love it, love it, love, I love him, love his work. But what's fascinating is that his channeling course is totally different thing from the way I'm being guided to teach channeling. So in his course, FYI, actually, if you want this, go to his course. His course is actually all about channeling yourself for yourself. My course and the way I'm being guided to teach channeling is about channeling benevolent energies, which could be yourself, but really any benevolent energies um, through yourself to yourself or to the world, any and all of the above. Whereas Lee's course is really primarily, and I would say actually only, about channeling you for you. So you absolutely can channel yourself, but and the way that Lee leads it and seems to experience it was amazing. It's very, very clear guidance from your own higher self to yourself, which is awesome. And I would say that's more of what comes through for me in my praying. Um, and when we do the course in October, I have a guess that some of that will come through. But for me, if it's Martha talking, if I say this is Martha talking, I mean, I'm a wise person. Okay, sure. But I will not, I will, there, 99% of what will come through me when I'm actually channeling and I'm channeling a being that's not me, I would never think of, I would never have, that would not be Martha talking. It's because it's a different energetic, it's a totally different frequency. Um, and that doesn't mean anything negative about me, the human, obviously, but I'm human. I'm human. Um, and yeah, so that's often in my videos why I will, like even my astrology videos, I will talk first as Martha and then I will stop and channel, because the energy that then can come through me is a totally different level than the human Martha voice. And they both have their roles, and obviously I'm important. We're all important as humans, very important. Um, but for me to channel is a totally different thing. And making that distinction for me is really, really key. And also, I would say, and this is something maybe we can play around with more in the course also, is for me, there's a very, very, very clear distinction, really important to make this distinction between the Martha human voice, like our own human talking, me talking to you, versus channeling, versus like poetry moving through me, versus imagination. And they're all very different. So I have my Mercury in Pisces, and so I love poetry. I write poetry a lot. And it's a very distinct voice that moves through me, but that's not channeling. That's totally different it's a very different feeling. It's more of it's like I tap into this river in my being, that when I'm writing poetry, it's like I tap into a river of like it moves through all of my lifetimes in a way that I can only access when I let poetry move through me. And that's me. That's my soul speaking. That's what it is. Poetry is my soul speaking in an art form, and channeling is infinite benevolent beings moving through me however they need to. Is a totally different voice, a totally different energetic, and a very different purpose. Um, Yeah, the poetry writing for me is like my own self-expression. It actually even helps tie together my own lifetimes. That's what I often feel happen when I write poetry. It's really more for me. It's very emotional a lot of the time. Very beautiful. Um, yeah, very different from channeling. And then imagination is also completely different. And also, I would say like stream of consciousness thinking, that is not channeling. That for me, that is that's awesome and that has its own purpose and can be really therapeutic. But I do think it's really important, especially if we ever are going to channel for someone other than ourself. But even if we're going to channel for ourselves, to get clear on what stream is coming in, right? Whether it's your human self-talking, um, poetry moving or something, imagination moving, channeling moving, etc. They're very distinct rivers for me. That's the way. But again, I have Mercury and Pisces, so the river metaphor is probably a very Piscean thing. So that may or may not apply for you or resonate for you. Um, yeah, but that's one way I would answer that. And there's definitely something we can fill into more in the channeling course. Absolutely. If you have more questions, write them in the live chat and I will come to them. And then Tommy, your second question, how do you decide which channeled messages you will share and in what order? My guides tell me what to do. I think I would need to hear a little more about that question. I'm not sure. I think there's a nuance in there I'm not quite getting of exactly what you're wondering. Yeah, it's in the moment. I'm told by my guides, or I know, I feel it. Like let's say the morning, um, I'll just suddenly feel it. Like, oh, there's this energy that needs to move through, and it's like, and then my guides will get really insistent. Make a video today about the new moon in blah blah blah, and this energy, and then I'll feel like literal light trying to again pour through my body, really powerfully, right? Um, and it just kind of has to happen, similar to that original experience I had. Yeah, but if you have clarifying questions, let me know on that. Okay, and then Kathleen, yes, another really great question. I'm curious how you navigated the responses of people in your life, if any, who did not understand or trust the concept of channeling, especially as you began to channel more publicly. Yes. So you can imagine, I think naturally any of us would feel this way. I, of course, was totally petrified to do this publicly. And like I said, originally when this first happened to me in 2018, I had maybe 3 or 4 people in my entire life, in my entire world, who I was open with about my spiritual side at all. Did not talk about it, even though I had a very powerful spiritual life going on privately with myself. Yeah, so it was very scary. And but the thing is, it was so, I mean, maybe I'm just lucky, I don't know, but never, I have never so far, so far, I haven't had a single person from my personal life criticize it, question it, other than my kids. My kids, but I don't talk about it with them really, honestly. I mean, they're open about being kind of like, seriously, you do what? Actually, and I don't even talk to them. I don't know if they know that I channel. That's a good question. I'm not sure. They know I do spiritual stuff. They know that I left social work, and they're really glad I left social work because it's a much more stressful situation. And, we had like hardly any money. It was because being a social worker that's how it is. And it's very stressful. And so they're just happy that I'm happy, right? That's all they think they care about. But they will roll their eyes at spiritual stuff. They're not into spiritual stuff. Definitely they don't believe in astrology. No way. But they're teenagers. Other than them, I can think of one friend from my old job who's very blunt. And she a few times has kind of rolled her eyes and been like, you believe what? You know, that kind of a thing. And I honestly, at this point, I just kind of, I don't engage. It's not nourishing for me, and it's a no. I just don't engage with that. I don't want to answer her the questions. I don't, yeah, we don't, you know, no, there's no obligation to answer those. It doesn't feed me to engage, so I just don't. I haven't like gotten angry or pushed it or ended the friendship or anything like that. I just don't engage with those kind of things. But other than her, not a single person in my family. I have a humongous extended family, gigantic. I mean, really gigantic. Like I just went to a family reunion with over 100 people, and my family is amazing. And but none of them believe in this kind of thing, really. I mean, maybe one or two out of that, like over 100, on that side of my family. Um, the other side of my family, I'm very close to a few people who actually do, and my mom, very supportive. My dad was very supportive. He died almost 3 years ago, but um, amazingly supportive actually of this. Uh, even though he's a very complicated person, very like shockingly supportive. Um, Yeah, but I really thought I would get some kind of pushback, especially when I started channeling on YouTube, you know, from my family and friends. Nothing, never, other than, yeah, other than what I just said. Um, yeah, it's like, it's almost like I don't know, maybe there's like a benevolence in the energetic of channeling, right? Because I'm only willing to channel high vibration energy. And so maybe people feel that. And so it's like, it's like there's nothing to engage with that's negative, so why would they kind of, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I just feel really lucky. I feel just so blessed, right? That even people in my family who this is not their thing at all, they're totally unconditionally loving about me and about it. And yeah, they don't understand it necessarily, but well, they don't. They just don't. But yeah, they just love me. And I need that in my life. I need people who love me for me, nothing to do with my work. So it's beautiful. It's actually been amazing. Yeah, I'm totally amazed, totally shocked, actually, that that's how it's been. Really amazing. Um, Sylvia, how do you stay at a high frequency and not allow the negative people or events to affect you? Yeah, another important question. Good question. I mean, I would say they do affect me, of course. Negative things obviously definitely affect me. And I would say this channeling is a huge part of what keeps me feeling really good. I think it's the thing. And my praying every day, every morning, crucial. Like, I don't know what I would do without that, honestly. Um, yeah, my relationship with the light, the spirit world, Gaia, my guides, that is what keeps me positive. And even when I mean, I'm obviously completely human. My kids would be the first one to tell you that. Uh, yeah, of course. And and so of course, I mean, political things happen or wars or whatever it is, you know, I get very upset, obviously. People make weird comments on Facebook or something, and yeah, of course I get upset. And then I come back to this, and actually it's similar, you know, if you're familiar with like doing Reiki or energy work for people, that healing energy that moves through your body isn't just for them. I mean, it really flows through. It's incredibly healing for you, and it's the same basic energy that's moving through me or you as we channel too. Very it's divine light. It's divine love. So it's like having an energy bath, like a divine light love bath constantly. It's like, oh my God, it's totally amazing. Um, so yeah, channeling in and of itself, I would say is actually incredibly healing for me and such a privilege. You know, when I sit down and I channel for you all, either on a video or in a course or what. I mean, I just I end up by the end of it, I'm just, or even like right now, as I'm tapped into that energy right now. Um, I feel grounded. I feel soothed. I feel, my body regulates. I feel like I've had an energy work session, which I have. Like I can feel it happening even right now. Like there's this energy emanating from me to you, through us, through all of it. Yeah, it's so incredible. It's such a gift. Like amazing. Um, okay. And then Jessica, how do you enter and exit your channeling with ease? How did it come to you when you first started versus now? Hearing, writing all the time or only at certain times? Okay, cool. So how do I enter and exit my channeling with ease? That's a great question. I think go to those videos, especially the second one. The second one leads you through basically how I do it. Um, and although I would say for me at this point now, uh, yeah, I really honestly, well, one thing I do, I use a particular um song. Use a particular music for channeling. I put the link for that video with this video. But so yeah, it's a certain hertz. Mm, let me look it up. Um, I'll just put it here with this video. So I think it's 528 hertz music, and it has to be, for me, it has to be that very specific one. And I keep trying other ones because I'm like, I would like some variety. I've been using that exact same video for years, and there's something about that particular frequency, that particular video that helps me channel. I don't quite understand why. Um, so that's part of what helps me, like, that flow to happen. But what I really do, I mean, you've probably seen me do it. I close my eyes and I take a deep breath, and then whatever is there waiting to channel through me, the energy of it is just right here. Like right now, I can feel this light is like right here, and I don't feel a need to channel it, but it's here, just guiding me or holding the space or something. But if I were about to channel, then it's the light itself that kind of takes over, and just eases my whole body. It's very enjoyable. But do that how to channel part 2 video, and let me know how that is for you, because yeah, that would probably be the best way for me to answer it, is for you to watch that video. And obviously, if you're taking this how to channel course, obviously that's what that 5 gatherings is going to be entirely about. Is I will be leading you through, um, I'll be channeling actually to lead you through how to channel. Yeah. And then you're saying, how did it come to you when you first started hearing, writing all the time or only it's okay, yeah. So like I said, the beginning of this video, it came to me through writing first. That was that first way it came through. And then I don't remember when it became also audible, like auditory for me. I honestly don't remember. I started channeling through voice, through spoken word. uh, Certainly by 2022. I've kind of lost track. Probably before then. Don't remember. But written word was definitely first for me, then spoken word. And what's interesting is in the how to channel course, it's going to be written word, spoken word, and sound, song, and light language. And I've actually never done light language myself, but it's going to happen. And it's a little bit of a there's a little bit of it's like an edge that they're like, just do it to me, so that's fascinating. So I'm constantly evolving and growing and learning and yeah. So we'll be doing that one together. I mean, probably I'll do it before the actual day of when we do it together, but or maybe not. I mean, I just think it's going to naturally flow, and because that's how this has all tended to be for me. But yeah, and then is it all the time or only at certain times? I only consciously channel when I deliberately choose to, channel a video or channel for a course or channel for writing. But at this point, I absolutely definitely have access to my guides constantly. They're constantly, I mean, they're just right here, like they are for all of us. And I consult them all day, definitely. Like if I have a question, I'll just sort of tune into them and they'll be like, you know, um, having little conversations with me anytime in the day. And I get a lot of messages through my body wisdom too. I'm very body centered and very kinesthetic. I have Jupiter in Taurus, a lot of placements in my second house. I'm very Virgo. I'm very in my body. And I definitely encourage us all to be really in tune with our body wisdom because I think so much is there and comes alive in our bodies, of course. So that's there all the time for me. My guides are there all the time. My body wisdom is there all the time. The channeling I choose to do in certain moments. But it's a similar wisdom there. Okay. Um, I'm gonna try to go through this a little faster because I have to go in 5 minutes to pick up my daughter. Okay. Um, all right. So Barbara, let's see. Oh, you're join the course and you're gonna ask the questions there. Awesome. Okay. Erica. How do we either let go or respond to the resistance or thought that it is only imaginary mind formations? I believe there are many ways to let go of resistance or imagination versus visualization, and being very patient and gentle with this, I thought I'd check in with you about it. Yes. 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 So I think I partly just answered that question. The other part though, to answer that question, I would say fake it till you make it, like just do it. So I would say if so long as you're channeling for yourself and you're not channeling for yourself in a way that you're trying to make decisions based on what you're channeling, you're not going to hurt anything. So, um, yeah, just do it. I think so. I think sometimes, again, there's a really fine line sometimes between the imagination and channeling. Um, but they're very distinct. And I can feel the difference in my body very, very clearly, probably just because of practice. And that's something, again, in the course, we'll really be working with that, especially those of you in the small sharing circles, but also all of you just in the bigger groups, the bigger group. And the other thing I will really encourage in that course, but you can do this even if you're not in the course, you could go on in my free community and write a post and request this. I would really encourage you to find a practice partner or maybe a small, like 2 or 3 people or 4 people, whatever, who want to practice channeling, if that's something you feel called to do. So if you're in the course, absolutely please go in and, uh, you know, let people know you would like a partner or 2 or 3. If you aren't in the course and you would like that, maybe go in the free community and do the same thing. I think that's a really, really beautiful way to just test this out. Sort of, again, similar if you're learning Reiki, right? Like if any of these kind of skills, especially with the intuition yeah, to get feedback, like, oh, yeah, and to have people be able to mirror you. And yeah, so I think, and there's a thumbs up. um, yeah, so I think it just takes time, it takes practice. But if you're in the course, we absolutely will be working on that more. And yeah, over time, it's just, I think it becomes clear. Um, it's kind of like when you learn how to use different muscles, like, how do I put this? trying to think of an analogy, but anyway, or you learn different flavors, right? You learn the distinction between what a lemon tastes like versus an orange tastes like. That's probably the best way to describe it. I just know, like I just know, okay, no, this is channeling energy. This is my guide speaking. This is my imagination. This is poetry moving through me. This is my Martha mind. This is my fear talking. This is, it's very distinct flavors. And it's a matter of practicing it more than anything, I think, and getting feedback and being able to talk about it. And yeah, just learning it for yourself. Um, okay. Sue, you're saying, I would love you to share whether you experience a phase of being tested. Like, did how you react to what you channeled affect whether you were trusted by beings and opened further as a channel? Also, how did you get past the initial "you want me to do what" phase? Referring to leaving your day job and transitioning. In a nutshell, questions of trusting in the transition phase until it becomes more stable. Yes. Yes. I think I answered the question about the leaving my job part, but certainly, yeah, there was definitely, I mean, that whole year before I left social work was definitely like, oh my God, what? You want me to do what? Uh, wow, you need to show me a way that that's going to be possible. And, it was uncanny the ways that it ended up being possible. Yeah, that's a long, long, long story, but yes, it was very nerve-wracking. And it all worked out. Yeah, but yeah, there's more there. But and the whole question of being tested, no, I was never tested. No. Um, like, did how you react to what you channeled affect whether you were trusted by beings and opened further? Yeah, I never, ever, ever felt like beings didn't trust me, which is really interesting. That's such an interesting question. I think they wouldn't have come to me if they didn't trust me. That's my sense. It feels similar to how the way I feel my relationship to the spirit world feels really similar to how I have felt when I was a child therapist. It's like, I think, I don't know. It kind of like I waited for them to come. Like I didn't go looking. They came to me. So it's similar to like when I used to work with young kids who were very traumatized, right? Like I would go in the room, I would obviously say hello and do enough to make them comfortable, but often what I would do is I would sit in a chair and I would just kind of give like a soft smile toward them, but very letting them have their space, and I would just kind of try to just emanate love and peace toward them. And eventually they would start playing. And so it's similar with children. Like I never felt, except with, except with kids maybe who are like right in the separation anxiety age, toddlers or something. Um, Very rare for a child to not trust me. Interestingly, at that point in my life, at least, yeah, I haven't been in that position in a long time. But no, I never felt the spirit world not trust me ever. Um, I think they get it. They know like who I think, they can feel it. Like when they approach us, I think because yeah, they know we're the right ones. Which we are. So yeah, because we're gonna be honoring of them. Okay, so those are all the questions on the community that I'm seeing. Let me see your questions here back in the chat, and then I'm gonna have to go. Let's see. You said this was a first in this lifetime to meet the circle of eight. I wonder if this relationship has changed over these years. Have you learned more about the why? Yeah, the why of this. I have so many questions about that circle of eight. Um, and what has happened interestingly since then is that I channel infinite beings. So it's not just that eight. A lot of channelers, of course, like Lee Harris channels the Z's. Um, People channel the Pleiadians, or John Ryan channels the Syrians, or et cetera, et cetera. Kelly Klodney channels Angel Raphael, and I have an infinite number of Like literally I channel infinity actually, living the one light. So it's like, so I channel anything benevolent. So it hasn't, so I'm still confused and very curious what that circle of eight is. It's like they are my foundational group, but they don't they don't tend to show themselves really blatantly in my life. I mean, I can feel them right now and they're like, no, we're here. We're here. Um, but that's not what 10, I'm gonna have to feel into that. There are a lot of questions I haven't asked. Like it hasn't felt like the right timing to ask them. But yes, I'm so curious. The human me is so curious about so many things. So I appreciate that question. Okay, cool, Tommy. You said this answers your question. Awesome. Um, yeah, does channeling always make you feel better or are you sometimes tired? Okay, yes. Most of the time I feel great, especially now. Um, Sometimes though I am exhausted when it's particularly powerful. Like for example, those of you who were part of the eclipse journey that we just did together this past month, after the lunar eclipse channeling that I did for that group, those of you who were part of it probably noticed, it was unbelievably powerful. I mean, that was one of the most powerful channelings I have ever experienced in my entire life. Like I can think of one experience I've had, or it wasn't overtly channeling, but it was incredibly powerful spiritual experience. That's the only thing I can think of in my life that was more powerful. That lunar eclipse channeling completely changed me. And that eclipse was smack on my own chart, like very powerfully. So I think that might have been part of why it affected me so much. But yeah, that day I was blasted. After that, I was like, wow. Um, that's not typical. It didn't feel bad. It didn't feel bad at all. It completely changed my own energy body structure, which was ultimately amazing, right? But yes, that after that one, I was almost not functional that day. Um, that was extremely unusual. Typically, after I channel, like for videos or for the Ben Hui series or in Star Speaks or whatever it is, the astrology 101 course, I I usually feel actually great, especially after the Ben Hui channeling. I feel usually amazing afterward. Um, Yeah. And actually, I would say honestly, very honestly, that started about a year ago when I first channeled for Pam Gregory with her sitting there and me channeling for her um, on a video we did together. That was when it's like something about her presence, because, she's amazing, an amazing being. And there's something that really helped me like tap into my own strength of my own soul in some way. And, she would probably go, oh, no, no, no. She's very, very humble. But there's something incredibly powerful for me just receiving the support of her in that moment. And then, since then, just in the way she relates is like, she's just such a beautiful being. And to be honest, I think actually that was when it started, the channeling, especially in the Ben Hui series, became incredibly beautiful and powerful for me. And afterward, I just go away from those channelings and feel like amazing. So uplifted and nourished and fulfilled. And probably the Ben Hui's energy of that place is really nourishing for me too. Yeah, so I would say at this point, channeling is more and more and more uh just I come away feeling amazing. It's also, I think, the main thing I'm meant to do in my lifetime. At this point, my guides say to me, yeah, you're here to channel for the world. So more than doing like one-on-one sessions or anything, like literally that is my role. And so that's probably part of why also I feel so good typically. Yeah, except for example, that lunar eclipse thing where it wasn't bad at all. It just was so powerful. It's like sometimes, you know, yeah. But that's pretty unusual. Um, And Esther, you're saying, Martha, I feel your channeling often flows from both high frequencies and your own deep wisdom, always inspiring and connected to your astrology insights. Ah, yeah, yeah. And I would say, yeah, my channeling definitely at this point, I mean, it's for sure, it's high frequency moving through my me. And the Martha me is always kind of checking in, right? Like sometimes I'll be channeling a guided experience for people, and the Martha me, who's to be a therapist, will kind of be checking with the energy of it, or my guides, or whatever, whoever, like let's say Ben Huis is channeling through me, and I'll be going, okay, a person with trauma might need a little bit of this or this, right? And then I'll kind of like be negotiating in myself with the energy trying to channel through me to try to make sure that people are going to be okay. There's definitely that goes on inside of me. So but then usually what happens is that, like, let's say Ben Weiss is channeling through me, he'll be like, no, no, we're good. They're good. But the Martha me is trying to take care of you. I guess is part of what it is. Yeah. So there's definitely an element of the two interacting. Um, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yes. And Elaine, you're saying, I think it can also happen through movement, dance, yoga, practice. Oh, definite, definitely. In that channeling, how to channel part 2 video, I talk or I channel a bit about that. Yes, and I would say there's a whole other thing I get into another time, but for me, moving is really, really important. It's part of how sometimes when I feel a big energy trying to move through me and needing to channel, sometimes what I need to do is clean my house, clean my house and or exercise. Tons comes through me when I'm exercising or going for a walk, especially if I'm going like doing really intense exercise or doing yoga, sometimes actually very slow, both, all of the above. And something about cleaning. There's something about cleaning that helps the energy like circulate above my head or just get ready to boom, then it can come in. So yeah, when I feel it, I'm not quite ready. A lot of the time I'll clean or move my body somehow, do yoga. I'm feeling really called these days to be more and more and more in my body. More like I've just set up a new yoga kind of dance area in my house, in my living room for me, because my 18-year-old just moved to college and there's a little more space. Anyway, long story, but I set up a new altar. I set up a new dance space, kind of yoga space for myself because, yeah, I really feel called for me, but all of us to really incorporate our bodies more and more and more into everything. Because we're earth and spirit, right? It's very Virgo, Pisces, Taurus, all of the above. Yes, so yes, definitely. And ancestors connection, Caitlin. Yes, I'll come back to that 1 second. Aw, thank you. You have a very trustworthy energy about you. Thank you. Um, I appreciate that. Um, yes, and then Caitlin, yeah, so this last question, ancestors. Yes, I definitely have a very strong connection with ancestors. I'm not sure exactly what you're trying to ask there, but yes, in the video, I've done various videos where I talk about my own ancestral history, and yes, I feel very strong connection with my ancestors, and I feel very strongly that, to support us all to have that kind of connection with either our literal ancestors and or our spirit ancestry. Um, yeah. So, yes, many, 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 many things. I love all these questions. Thank you so much. Um, I do have to go get my daughter now, so I have to go. But beautiful. And yes, so yeah, keep asking these questions. I'm happy to keep answering them over time. If you're going to be part of the channeling course, that starts next Wednesday. I'm super excited, October 1st. And as of this moment, the sharing circles are full. People have been asking, are you going to add more? Don't really have time to add like the full set, but I'm thinking on that. I'm also, yeah, I have ideas. So anyway, but the full course is still available. Any number of you can join. So please join. Again, that starts next Wednesday. I would love to have you there. Um, and there's a sliding scale option available starting at $85 total for the whole 5 weeks. So again, I hope it's very affordable for a lot of you. Yeah. Yeah. And if you still have questions about either channeling or my journey or the course, write them in the comments or in the free community. And I'm happy to continue to answer those over time. Yeah. Thank you so much. I love feeling you here, and I look forward to seeing you. And FYI, if you don't know already, on my website, livingtheonelight.com, I now have available this free gathering coming on December 5th. Super exciting. It's going to be with me, Julia Balaz, David Clements, Dr. John Ryan, and Kelly Klodney. The five of us together are going to hold this free event December 5th. Very powerful energy. Hopefully that will be really supporting us all to be coming into what I feel is going to happen there is like holding space for us all to click into like a new level of our energy bodies as these conduits of the divine that we all are. Yeah, so please go to my website, sign up there for free for that. And again, livingtheonelight.com, join the free community, download the free app, join in, share, let's celebrate each other, support each other. It's all really, really beautiful. And this is how we create the world we want, literally, right? We do it. Like it's not something that's just going to happen to us. Like we are here to be it, to do it, we are it. So I just appreciate you each being here so much. And really, I'm getting chills. So thank you. And I will see you really soon.